Hi everyone, my name is Angel Morphew. I'm your Diversity Officer at the University of Wolverhampton Students' Union. I'm just popping on here just to say that I'm so excited for the launch of Being Wolverhampton, a celebration of everything and everyone that is part of the university and the City of Wolverhampton itself. It's a series that encourages people within the underrepresented groups to come together and share their life experiences in a safe space. I hope that this series will not allow just the participants but also the viewers a chance to get a deeper understanding of certain challenges and stereotypes that underrepresented groups may face, and also to have an experience of how people from different groups have different life experiences, because two people are not the same. So Being Wolverhampton aims to focus on what unites us, showing interest and compassion for others, but also learning and growing together. So the first episode is titled Being Mixed Race, and this was filmed during Black History Month. It allows an insight into the life experiences of mixed race students. We discuss topics from hair to identity to our experiences in higher education. So I hope you enjoy the first episode, but please be sure to follow the rest of the episodes on the website, and also let us know what you think on social media. In terms of identity, I'll kickstart with what I feel I am. I don't see myself as just being black or white. I see myself as being mixed race, and like mixed race in itself is its own sort of like race. But yeah, I think it's weird because we get put into categories in society anywhere where you have to be like one, and there's been times where I've been in like job interviews and there's no mixed race category, so it's like, what do I pick? Like, where do I fit in? Yeah. Am I just other? Yeah. Which I do end up just putting other because I don't feel like I'm black or white. But yeah, it's just how people see you sometimes as well.
Even just like, especially on the forms that do have the mixed race option, it's like, which mixed race are you? And I'm like, I'm just mixed race. It's not special that I'm mixed white this, mixed black this, and it's like choosing like which is the appropriate way of saying, oh, I am this person, but I'm also this person, so please like me. Because you want to be liked by everyone.
So it's like, why does it matter sometimes? I don't think it does.
Yeah, it's the same, especially because I'm mixed, and yes, I'm half black, I'm half white, but I'm quarter Jamaican and quarter Barbados as well, so it's
more to that, it's complex, isn't it?
What box is there for me, you know what I mean? Because obviously
even the term half, I'm a whole person.
Yeah.
I'm not half anything.
I think that's with the terms as well, like half caste beforehand, like that used to be used a lot, and it used to always make me feel like, that uncomfortable.
It's just
what is a caste?
It's and it's something that doesn't even relate, because it's not even about race. That's something that the white man, let's say, put on us. They showed, these are the options they gave us, and we had to choose the best one. And I'm like, that's not who I am. Just that's how you want to see me. I am myself, a loud, annoying person, but myself.
I think you get categorised from different people as well. Like, the experience that I've had is white people will say that I'm black, but then black people are like,
no.
It depends what your attitude is on what we class you as. So you've got to act like a black girl or do this, because what does that even mean to be classed as black? But then if you act white, then it's like, oh yeah, you know, she's a bounty, or do you know what I mean? There's always that identity of from other people as well that you feel the pressure from. Because most of the time I think mixed people don't even know where to put themselves.
No, I think that's the biggest thing. I think when I'd never experienced racism until I met another mixed race person, which sounds so strange, but like, I went to an all-white primary school, and then when I was in middle school, there was another mixed race boy, and I think I spoke to him not long ago, and he had the exact same issues as me. He had an identity crisis that he just didn't know who his dad was, and his dad was black, and he just reflected that all on me, unfortunately. But I remember him just saying to me, you black bee, and then like just calling me all sorts of names. And at the time, I'd never been confronted with any sort of like racial slurs or anything. So I didn't know how to take it. And that kind of like triggered my like identity crisis, because that's when I realised my colour and realised my race. And that's when I kind of got moved to a multiracial school. And that's the first time I ever heard like the N-word being used, or like, I remember the first time I met the deputy head, and she basically put me into a group, of people that she thought would be best suited to me, because of my colour. So it was just black people, mixed race people, Indian people, not because I'm interested at all. And I ended up not even being friends with them people. And it's probably the horriblest time in my life because they were just really like mean. Like I didn't fit in there clearly because I'd been from a white school, so they saw me as white. But yeah, my colour to them, they didn't understand like why I wasn't black enough to be part of their group. But yeah, it's always uncomfortable. It's weird.
It is. It's really strange because I got moved around schools quite a bit as well, and when I was at an all white school, I was the black this, the black that, the black whatever, and I even remember like I went on holiday. They're like, you can't afford to go on holiday. You're black, and I was like,
Oh my gosh.
what? But that's the different part as well. And then obviously I said to my mum, I was like, I can't go to school here anymore. Like it's driving me insane. And obviously my mum was like, no, we'll bring you out. That's fine. But then when I went to a mixed school, it was then I got a lot of drama from black people. Then I'm like, where do I win?
Yeah.
Like,
You can't.
where's the win situation when you mix?
I remember, so when I moved to the UK, I was still in primary, and I was the black girl, the only black girl in both my two primaries that I went to. And at first it wasn't a big deal because kids were little and they didn't really think of it that way, and I'm white passing enough, and I have very neutral English accent most of the time, so people don't really think of me as black. But then when I moved to school, and my older brother had come, so my older brother, he's fully black, he has a different dad to me, so he comes in, it's dark as night, looking like a proper black kid, plays all these sports, everyone likes him. Then I come in, they look at me like, why aren't you the same? And then you explain, they're like, but you're not black enough to be related to him, you can't be related, you don't look alike, nothing. We literally look like twins. Like the exact same face. But everyone's like, you're not black enough to be your brother, no. I wasn't allowed to associate with him. People would, if I went to talk to him at school, people would look at him like, why is this small, weird white girl talking to you? And I'd be like, that's my brother. And then it got really gross because as he got older, obviously his friends started talking about like girlfriends, boyfriends, such as that. I became his little girlfriend because I was mixed race and I was deemed good enough to date him, not be related to him, but I couldn't date any of the other white kids or the black kids. And it feels really gross when you look at social media and it's like, oh, she's so hot, hope you're banging her. And I'm like, that's disgusting, that's my brother. And people don't care on social media at all.
No, because they don't relate it to you being like siblings, they just see it as like that sort of like fetishism of you being like the mixed race kind of like girl on the side. That's horrible.
And that's what it is as well. That's how they see the mix as well, isn't it? Like you say with the fetishes and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, we were talking about males and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, I want nice little mixed babies and light-skinned brown babies, and it's just like, we're not toys to play with. Like,
the phrase when people see you're gonna have the beautiful babies, I'm like, thanks so much. I love thinking about that when I'm 14.
It's weird. It is really weird. I think it's always how people view us. I don't think I'd have an identity issue because I grew up with both my black and my white side if it wasn't for other people making me feel like that. And I think the big thing that recently, like I've been trying to figure out myself, is why I don't feel like British enough. And I still don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because when, like I said earlier to you guys, like I spoke about how when I speak to my friends and I say, how do you view me? Like, how do you see me? And the same with my partner, it's more like, oh, my black friend Angel, or they don't see the white in me. And I think that's not that being white makes you British, but because they don't see both of me, it makes me feel like I'm just completely alienated. I'm not even British. They don't see me as part of them. I think that's the biggest thing for me. They don't see me as being a shared race with them. And it kind of, I don't know, it kind of takes away the relationship I have with my dad and my white side of my family because it's not valued, it's not seen within me. I'm just seen as like black, like my colour. So that's a big thing.
It is, it's huge.
I remember so I moved to the UK and it was okay because I was excited to move here because I'd come from Nigeria and I'd gone to a British school. So there was black kids, white kids, Indian kids, and there being another colour wasn't different. You never noticed it. So I moved here and I was really excited for like the winter and the snow and all the things you see on TV about England. So I was really, really excited and I moved and my mum braided my hair like she always does in like the 4 big bunchy braids that you do when you're like 8.
And the cute styles.
And like I had like the little beaded bubbles stuff in. That used to hurt so much when she hit my head. I was like, ow. But then I went to school And all the kids looked at me like I was really, really strange. And this girl, who had also moved at the same time, she'd moved at the same time, so we were put together. She took me to the bathroom. She's like, I need to do your hair, and took all my hair out. And I felt guilty when I'd done it because I knew my mum was going to be upset. But also, I didn't want to go back to that because they'd looked at me so strange. And that was when my mum started to relax my hair.
Really?
And being 9 and having relaxed hair is not a good idea.
No.
Like, I had to shave my hair all off when I was 16 because it was that damaged. I mean, I looked really cool with like shaved hair, but the fact that I had to take that decision to take away what had been made white or palatable to this audience really, really hurt for a long time. Yeah. And even now, I'm still a bit like weird about my hair because of how people view it and how people want to touch it and people want to say stuff like that. That's a big part of
as you can visibly see, like my hair is straight, and I don't think I've ever worn my hair in public curly since I was like 13. Like as soon as I could use a straighteners, it was on my head. But I think the biggest thing was like because of how people saw my hair as being like, you'd sit like in school assembly and they'd be like, I can't see past your hair, your hair's like straw, why is it so dry, and blah blah blah. And as much as I used to love when my mum did like the little bobbles in my hair with like the little beads and stuff, it was really cute, like I just didn't want to be like that anymore. And like even to this day, I'm consciously know that I don't feel comfortable with my hair, and I'm trying to feel more comfortable in my identity, but even I can't look at myself with my curly hair in the mirror and feel like that's good enough, or that's pretty, or that's seen as like pretty enough to go out in public in. So I think it is really sad, and it's just like I don't know how to challenge myself to see being pretty as having curly hair, having my natural hair and like embodying it, but I just don't see it.
It's like now, I mean, I'm going through that wonderful transition of growing out the relaxer, so these are why the braids are in. But it's like when I've had the braids in, I've had the comments of, oh, you're going back to your roots. What does that mean? What, my roots are New Cross Hospital.
That's
where do you know what I mean? And it is really strange. They're like, oh, why have you got like a black girl hairstyle? Why is it a black girl hairstyle, and why can't I have braids if I want because I'm mixed? What's the issue? But I think your hair is a major part of your identity as well, and you think how people perceive you. I think the first thing they look at is your hair. As being a mixed girl, I think you get judged either side as well. From black women, I would say, you get judged on your hair, and then with white women not so much, but I think there is that judgment, because I remember when I was at school, I used to get comments of, oh, you just think you're nice because you've got light skin and your hair's not as tough as mine. And I'm like, well, your opinion, but that means you're not going to talk to me because of that kind of thing. So hair is it's been a major burden for me as well. And it just ends up being an inconvenience. I don't think we all embrace our hair as much as we should. It's just like, oh, I wish my hair was like this, or I wish it was like that, or you'll put a wig on, or, you know what I mean? And you'll cover up what your hair, like you say, you don't feel comfortable with your curls. But that is your natural, that's your natural hair. You should be able to embrace it.
That's what I struggle with, because I want to, like, I actively want to. I see your hair and see how beautiful it is. I see your hair and I'm like, why can't mine be like that? Which it probably could be, but it's just that when I look at it, I'm like, no, don't feel comfortable with it, don't want it like that.
But then again, white girls get to straighten and curl their hair. They get to do that, and black girls get to straighten and curl their hair. They can wear weaves and wigs and braids and everything. And they feel confident because they don't have, like, if they have 4C type or whatever, that stupid category thing, because I never know where I fit. I'm looking and I don't understand.
Too many different curl patterns.
But they get to wear their hair in every shape and form and feel comfortable doing that. But then if we do it, we get instant judgment. I remember when I moved to school for sixth form, I had to go and ask if I could put braids in. And I don't even, like, she looked shocked that I'd come to ask her, but I had been told that I had to come and ask you. And she's looking at me like, yeah, you do what you want with it, it's your hair. But the idea had been put there, like, you have to ask your teachers if you can do that. I'm like, why should I have to ask my teachers if I can wear?
There was a massive issue about that, wasn't there? Ages ago, about people wanting to have their hair in, like, braids or any cornrows, and then being told it wasn't an acceptable hairstyle and, like, unprofessional and stuff like that, isn't it?
If you type in unprofessional on Google Images, it still comes up with black hair before it comes up with anything else. And I'm just like, Well, that's my hair.
That's also a thing where people don't understand that a lot of these hairstyles are protective hairstyles as well. So it's to keep the condition of your hair. But obviously that's not understood either. They're just like, oh, they just want to put all these plaits in. Oh, they just want to have cane rows. But it's not. A lot of it is protective. And then you've also got that stereotype of, oh, if you walk around with a fro, you can't have your hair out in an afro. You can't do that.
Yeah, it looks
Like,
unkept.
why?
Yeah.
Why? Your hair on your head is your hair on your head, however you want to do it, whether you dye it, you know, rainbow colours, or, you know, you have it natural, you have it straight, you have it short, you have it blonde. It doesn't make a difference, but to society it is a problem.
My thing about braids, though, is when they changed the name. Like, people still call cornrows or cane rows, or even Yoruba.
I say cane rows,
See, I say cornrows and cane rows because I can't say the actual term, the Yoruba term for it, which my mum kind of like shades me for. But like, that's fine. I can live with that. But I'm like, that's the black term for it. But then box braids became a thing. I'm like, but they're not box braids. They don't. Where's the box a part of it?
Yeah.
It's a cane row if you're going to call it anything, or if you should be respectful, you should be calling it by its original Yoruba word, which I cannot say. I would try, but I would mutilate it. But that is like, and they take that, and then if I wear them, they're like, oh, you're trying to look like Kim Kardashian. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's trying to look like me. And that's just, especially because in media, the big lips, big ass, big tits, big curly hair, that's so popular now. And I'm like, when I was at school, that's what I got bullied for.
Yeah.
Even though I was the white passing girl, I still had enough of those black features to be bullied for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I'm just glad now that some of the features are in fashion, so no one looks at me like I'm weird anymore, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have got the big lips, I have
It's
got
a
the big
shame though,
bottom.
it has to be like that, has to be highlighted in the media for it to be acceptable. Like, that's why I think now, because I see so many people with curly hair and it looks amazing on them, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have my hair curly. But I think because I'm so traumatised when I used to get bullied for it, that I just still can't like push myself into that. But yeah, I think hair is a big thing, and like there's so much history, like with cornrows or cane rows, whatever you want to call it, of like why people used to do that. Like, and people don't care to know that. Like they just do it, and it's weird when it comes to that like cultural appropriation and things like that. Like I think as long as you're being respectful, but you also know like what the history was of why people did that. Like I don't. For me, it wouldn't bother me if someone had their hair in plaits, if they wanted to like grow their hair out or whatever they were doing. Like it doesn't bother me personally, like, as long as you're being respectful about it.
every time I have this conversation with my white or black friends, I have to, though, say, as a mixed race, black, white girl, because you have to emphasize that we can talk about it because it is our culture, but we have to make sure that they know that it is our culture, because I'm very white passing. I know that it's a privilege of mine. My benefit in life is that I will always be a white passing mixed race girl, while my siblings do not white pass at all. Like, they might be lighter than me, but they have really African features. And I would say I'm lucky. I don't even say I'm lucky because, I'm lucky that I look like a white person. But
that's how it is.
It is. I'm lucky that I can say that. But it also means I can't talk about, sometimes I can't talk about black issues in class because I'm not the blackest person there. And if I am, I always have to say, but as this person, fill in that.
It. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel like we do have an element of privilege, like being mixed race. Obviously not as what some people expect it to be in the sense of like being white, but I think sometimes we don't get it as harsh. Sometimes, I don't know, it's hard for me because I've experienced racism, but when I had experienced racism, it was coming from people who were black mostly, or people that looked like me, rather than white people. I've had white people who have obviously discriminated against me in terms of like employment and things like that, but challenging like me as a person, like it normally comes from people that look like me, or maybe they don't understand like who I am or where I fit in. But I do acknowledge that I do have somewhat of a privilege, and that's why I get scared talking about things like this, because it's like, can I speak about it being mixed race? So it's weird.
It is challenging because, like you say, I'm the same as well. I've had racism from black people, white people, Indian people, you know, a range of people, and I feel when people say, oh yeah, you're black, and I'm like, well, no, I'm mixed. And they're like, oh, so you've got a problem with being black then? No, I don't have a problem with it. It's just that I am as much white as I am black, so can I embrace both sides? And when it comes to the privilege side, to a certain extent, I do think you do have a privilege, like they say, pretty privilege and,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. But I do also think that being mixed race, you are more targeted to get it from both sides.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of I'm not saying that black people don't attack other black people, I'm not saying that, but I do think that racism would more come from people that aren't black.
Yeah.
But when you are mixed, you do get it from both ends.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are really shocked to hear that somebody that's mixed will get racism from a black person. And it's like, no, this
Yeah.
really does happen.
yeah.
It's like going through school, I didn't have many black female friends because they just didn't acknowledge my existence at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's fine. I remember talking to my mum about it and being like, what, why?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, and you know, my mum would go through her history and stuff of how she was being raised mixed in the 60s and 70s. And it's just, it's hard to get the balance of, is it privilege or is it what people want to portray
Yeah.
is privilege,
Yeah.
but really deep down it's not actual privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really weird though. I can, where I grew up in the UK is we were the like three of the black or mixed race families. So a lot of the issues weren't like proper racism, more ignorance and discrimination. But then I moved here and I felt like I was in a really weird, horrible way that I wasn't black enough because I didn't have any racism. And I felt bad that no one had been racist towards me, which is insane. The idea that I wanted people to be racist towards me to solidify this blackness in me because I'd become too white is crazy. But now I look back and I'm like, actually, lots of people were racist to me. I just took it because I was so glad that they were talking to me. I was so glad that people were associating themselves with the weird mixed race girl, that I was fine with the conversations about, oh, how black are you? Oh, so would you have a black baby? Oh, so would you do this? And I'm like, and then the words, I have cool round glasses now, they're trendy. I started this trend right when I was 12 and I got a pair of round glasses because I didn't like the other ones. And the term, ooh, look, here comes Black Granny Smith, she's gonna, and it was just all these really weird old racist terms that haven't been used since like World War II were being thrown my way and I didn't know what they meant because I was like 12.
Yeah.
And then I look back and I'm like, that is real racism, Ellie. The fact that you're still here is quite scary. And it's just, but still a big part of me was like, oh, at least they're being racist to me. At least I know that I'm enough of a black person to get the racism.
That's so heartbreaking that you felt that way.
Yeah. That you felt like you had to just accept it to fit in.
But it's just, when, I feel like growing up in Wolverhampton, or growing up in this area where there is more mixed race, more black people, whilst you do get reaction from both sides, you can see yourself a little bit more in areas, especially because England's a lot of the people who end up getting together. You don't see a lot of mixed race couples having mixed race babies away from the cities. Like within the cities, it's very normal because, melting point of society. Further away, it's a little bit harder. So I was comfortably the one white girl that was also not white.
Yeah, like you say about the mixed couples, I still think now it's still quite rare to see mixed couples. Obviously, my parents are both mixed race. And then when, obviously, you have the conversation, oh, who's black, who's white?
Yeah.
I'm like, neither, none of them. And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's the case of, because that doesn't seem the norm type of thing.
Sit right with what
And then
they
obviously
think.
my parents had a lot of issues when they were growing up because they were pretty much first, second generation of mixed people. So they had a lot of issues as well with both of their mums being white. They had a lot of issues, and I was talking to my mum about bits, and my mum was like, it was different when I was at school. She said when I was at school, she's like, the black girls hated me, the white girls hated me. She's like, so I just had to learn how to fight people to be able to stick up for myself because I didn't fit anywhere. And then my dad's point of view of being a mixed boy at school, it was like I had to be a certain way with the black people and then a certain way with the white people for me to be able to go from one group to the other. And I just think that's so sad that he's got to change his personality to fit with what race the group of people is. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, and I think that's where they think the privilege comes from, that we can do that. And I'm like, but it's not because we want to. We don't want to change and be the more white girl and then the more black girl. But that, I feel like that's where they think the privilege is, that we can wander through both paths. And like, it's not a choice that
it's
we
not
want.
a wonder either.
It's
what
hard.
You don't get to wander through it. It's hard. I think it's hard. It really is hard. It's like I've got one close female black friend now, and I think she's the only one that I've ever been close to on that level, because a lot of the time they just don't want to speak to me. I don't know whether it's been the same for you.
I feel like I've not had many issues in terms of being in Wolverhampton. Like, I do feel like, as you said, like, you see people that look like you. But when I moved to Bedford, like, was the biggest issue ever. Like, it was horrible because finally I'd been exposed to black people. I'd had black friends, female friends, and there was a particular girl that I looked up to, loved. Like, I saw her as like a mother figure looking after me in this new world that I'd never been in before. And she said a few things to me that I didn't realise until looking back now that were like alarming. And it was like, oh, well, you're too white to fit in with the black people, but you're also too black to fit in with the white people. Oh, you think you're pretty, do you? Oh, you think you're something special. And she made it as jokes, but like, looking back, it was her hatred was starting to grow for me more and more. And there was a time when we went, it was Black History Month actually, and we went to this school and they were doing like carnival celebrations and dances, and I was sitting in the crowd and she'd done the dance. As soon as I'd walked out of the function, I was with my white friend, her white sister, and her white friend. So I was with white people as I was walking out the function. And I literally had about 20, 30 black people running out of the function, like trying to attack me. And I don't know why I laugh about it, because I was absolutely petrified. I'd never been in a situation like that, ever. And we sat in her Mini and they were shaking the car, like, get her out, like, we want to beat her up, like, she thinks she's something special. And I was like, I'm not fighting 20 people, like, it's not me, I've not been growing up like that. And it shocked me because I was like, I wanted so hard, like when I was younger, to be in a multiracial school and to be somewhere where I saw myself. And now that I'm there, I still don't belong here. And it was really upsetting. And my mum saw that and she was like, you know what, no, we're moving back. We're moving back to the West Midlands. So she literally up and left. We came back here and went back to the same school, back to being like 1 out of 4, I think it was, of people of colour at my high school. And things were loads better, but I still had that in my head, like, I don't belong here, I don't belong there, who the hell am I, like, who am I? And I think coming to university now and like speaking to you guys, speaking to other people of colour, I feel more settled and more like I can explore my identity and be comfortable and not threatened. But yeah, I think we all have horrible experiences with people, and it's people that I never thought I'd have that with, because there were people that like I saw as like my mother figure. So yeah, it was a weird situation, but I'm glad that Wolverhampton's a little bit more settled. I don't know how you guys feel about Wolverhampton.
Like, when I moved to the UK, we were the only black family, so you get on the bus, you wouldn't see anyone. Then I moved here and I'd see like black people and I'd be like, oh my gosh, black person, friend. Because I'd never had that. And like, as much as my mum tried to keep that like African and that blackness in me, she was also an immigrant, like a fly in a vat of milk. So for her, she just did the same thing as I did. We just assimilated into Cumbrian culture. My mum has the thickest Cumbrian accent, which is really weird because she doesn't have her English, so it's just throwing me off. And then moving here, it's like, oh, I don't have to play white anymore. I don't have to play black anymore. I can just be Ellie, the mixed race girl. But even still, sometimes I'm like, oh, I have no one in my class that I can talk to about this because there's no one like me. But it's nicer. I'm like, apart from the weird things where I go into shops and like my brain just goes, assimilate, make yourself look black enough, make yourself look white enough to go into that shop. But I think that's a big thing within British culture, just assimilation in general. Like, not saying that that's bad, but I know that if I'll talk to a Nigerian girl, I will put on a Nigerian accent because I grew up in Nigeria, I have the culture, but to make her feel more comfortable, I put on an accent. Why am I trying to make her at ease in a casual conversation about, who knows, cheese? I have a deep conversation about cheese. Cheese is like my love. And then I'll do the same thing with white girls. I'll put on a more British, cleaner, neutral accent that hasn't got any weird little African additions or Cumbrian additions, so people understand me. And I'm like, I don't need to assimilate anymore. I think that's something I have to break out of, the assimilation culture within Britain. But then if I don't assimilate, who am I? Because I feel like there's no space.
As well.
Well, I think with Wolverhampton it's quite multicultural, so like you say, when you come here there is you know, different races, there's different shades, you know, there's a lot of different cultures in Wolverhampton, which I think does help when you're mixed, being in that environment. But then you also face a lot of prejudice still, even though it is multicultural, and you still will get the looks. Like, I will get a look when I'm with a white person, you know, they'll look and be like, okay, I wonder what goes on there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still not completely acceptable, but you can definitely live your life a lot easier here being mixed than a lot of other places. And I think it's just the thing is, I feel like as a mixed person, if you embrace that you are mixed, people see that you're being racist to either black people or white people. I mean, no matter what you mix with, I'm not just saying that you mix with black and white, but whatever you mix with, it's like you're always trying to disrespect one of the races, and it's like, no, why can't mixed people be proud of who they are? You know, we are mixed. That's what we are.
It's an identity of its own, I think.
Definitely.
And then it's like people challenge that all the time, and then that's the biggest thing. But I feel like one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this discussion is because there's people in this university who are mixed and they don't feel satisfied with the experience that they're having. And it's like, why is that? Because we live in a place which is so multicultural and more accepting than maybe other places, but there's still that like hesitance of no belonging, no identity. But like, how do we even start by solving that? It's hard because it's so complex.
It really
and
is.
we're even trying to sort that out ourselves. Like, I know for me, I'm still working through that. I'm still trying to figure out who in the world I am and where I fit in. But I think just sharing like where we're at is always really beneficial.
And I think the main part is try not to fit in.
Yeah.
I think we've got that mentality of, oh, we need to tick this box, we need to fit here, we need to just be who you are and embrace parts of you that maybe there's something that you might embrace of being mixed race that I don't embrace.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's okay. That's fine. I mean, I think that's the major part of just be proud of who you are and just stand up and be like, I am mixed. I am proud of what I am. No, I'm not being disrespectful towards black people. No, I'm not being disrespectful towards white people. I'm mixed. I'm happy being mixed. And I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of unhappiness within the mix, and I think that's the problem. We need to try and just accept ourselves for who we are. We're all human at the end of the day. It's a human race, like they always say, you know.
We all
so
bleed the
just,
same.
we're all the same, just different shades of brown. That's it.
It is, It's, I think, Wolverhampton, Birmingham, the West Midlands, like one of the horrible benefits of colonialisation and the British, all of that vibe, is that you can come to a place like this and you will see someone like you. It might not be the exact same as you, but there will be someone like you. There will be another international person who is kind of the same idea, another mixed race person who has that same kind of culture, another person who's lived as the only person of colour in their huge area, or not like the only white person in the whole area of people of colour. And the West Midlands is great because it's literally like a melting pot of every single culture you can think of. Like, there's a pizzeria down the road, it's called Oro's, and it's not an Italian person who owns it, but he makes the best Italian pizza, and that's because of this area. He can do that, and people love that. And I love eating pizza there, so I have a So it's so good that something that I'm so glad that when I did end up choosing to come to this university, that culture was just outside the door, from a huge step from the Scottish border.
It is good. Just it's to embrace, and I think we can all agree that Wolverhampton is the best place to be for that. Like you say, Birmingham as well. You know, it's nice to just see a mix of people, because I think if you're in a place where you are the only one of any race, it's intimidating, and you do feel pressured, and you do think that people are staring at you, and it is difficult. Whereas here, you don't get very far without bumping into another brown person. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's like, and I think that's one benefit of, as much as we've got mixed emotions of being mixed, but at least we know there's people around that you can be like, what do you think about this, or how do you feel? But I think that's a problem. We need to talk more.
Yeah, we don't. At the minute.
With mixed people as well, because I think many of us have probably got mixed friends, but we don't speak about this stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, and you just pass it off. Where I think it should be spoken about. Because it is hard, it is challenging.
Yeah, and you learn from others' experiences on how to deal with stuff and how to feel comfortable being who you are. Like, it's nice when I get to see people wearing their natural hair and wearing braids. It makes me feel like, oh, actually, I might try that. But yeah, it's nice just sharing experiences and knowing how to deal with stuff and just knowing how to live life being authentically yourself. That's the biggest thing.
100%.
Before I moved to the UK and Britain, I had a very sense of idea. I was like, Britain is the train station of the world because everyone goes through Britain, everyone comes here. Then I moved here and it was not that vibe at all. And I don't know, but I think for me, and I'm maybe growing out of it now, what I saw was Britishness was a white person, specifically a white man. And he may or may not be married to a black person or a person of not colour, but that family set was always a white man, potentially not white wife, and then 3 to 4 kids. And now I'm moving here, I still kind of see that a little bit. I still see that kind of vibe, even in like restaurants that aren't white restaurants or shops that aren't white shops. I still see that kind of like, the white man is the British man.
I think it doesn't even matter, like, if you're born here, like, it still doesn't mean anything. Like, you get asked that question, don't you, of like, well, where are you from? Well, where are you really, really from? And it's just like, well, I'm born here, is that not enough for you? I'm British, is that not enough for you? And it's not for them when they ask that question, because they're trying to figure out something more, and they're trying to put their finger on, like, why do you look different then? Like, where are you really from? Like, what is that colour in you? Why is your hair like that? And I don't know what Britishness really is. I'd like to know what it is. But I think even to this day, I don't know what it is. So I don't know what I'm trying to fit into. But I feel sometimes attacked and feel uncomfortable, especially during like Black Lives Matter, when there's people putting all these opinions on, saying jump back on your boat, like go back to your own country. And I'm like, well, where is that for me? Like, I'm born here, I've got dual like heritage parents, like I don't fit in, and I don't know what Britishness is. I really don't.
No, me neither. But I think it's the same. It's what it's always been. It's like, yeah, but where are you really from? Like you say, it's. So when I do say that I'm born here, it's like, but I'm not really born here. It's not classed as one of those things. But obviously, you are British. But defining British to somebody that's of any race, I would say, is hard for them to define, because it's always a case of, yeah, but you're not British. You're not English. So are you really from? Are you from Africa? Are you from Jamaica? Are you from here? And it's, no, I was here too. And my parents were here too.
That's the thing.
It was my grandparents. You know, and I think that's where, when exactly like what you said, is not feeling British enough. I think it does stem from people just automatically saying, well, no, where are you actually from? I think that's
because regardless, like they'll say, like, well, where's your mum from then? Where's your dad from then? Like, born here as well. Newcastle Hospital, the same. But I think that's the thing.
The one time every 4 years that I feel British is when the Olympics are on, because Jessica Ennis, Mo Farah, Nicola Adams, Lewis Smith, these are mixed race black people, international black people who are British, and we support them in their Britishness because they are running or jumping or swimming or whatever.
But that's the only time it's accepted though, is when it's they're in the Olympics or they're playing for that football team.
I wonder if they have been questioned whether they are actually fully British.
Well, what's it? Mo Farah's, I always remember Mo Farah's, this is Mo Farah, British something, I think he's like from East Africa somewhere. I don't know. So, and he's Muslim. And that's always brought up when they talk about him when he loses. The minute he loses, it's always Mo Farah from here got his British citizenship when he was 12, and I'm like, but he's British. At 12, you haven't got any, like, I don't know if he remembers his life in Africa. I barely remember mine. And when he loses, he's not British. But when he wins, he's British. So I have to achieve something to be British. Is the idea, right?
That's the same with like the football, when in the Euros when they lost, it was like they was rooting for them all the way up until that point, and they only picked out the black people, and it's like I don't know when people will actually just realise that we are just the exact same as them. And I don't have to explain myself, and I don't have to... It's like that unconditional love sort of thing, that concept of like there isn't any condition on when I'm British and when I'm not, depending on what I've done or who I am. But yeah, I think it'll always be like that. I don't think it will change. I think being British will always be that big question mark above it.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one to answer, I think. It's hard.
Yeah.